After another 4 o'clock, this is John Minko. Throughout the latter part of the season, Mets owner Fred Wilpon indicated that Bobby Valentine and Steve Phillips would return for 2003, despite a most disappointing 2002. But in the end, that did not happen. Phillips stays, but Valentine is out, was fired this morning. Tonight at the stadium, Yankees and Angels, Game 1, the American League Divisional Series. The A's and Twins, Game 1 in Oakland. Tim Hudson, Brad Radke, the starters. Game about to get going. And Randy Johnson throws for Arizona tonight. D-backs and Cardinals play their Game 1 with Matt Morris throwing for St. Louis. 77 degrees and mostly sunny skies. That's what's happening. This is John Minko with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Giants football.
Maddog here at Yankee Stadium. We'll get to the Yankees and the Angels in the playoffs a little bit later on. Twins and A's are going to begin here in a minute or two. We'll keep update with that score as well. Nice to have you with us. The Mets, the big topic here. We'll do that for another hour or so with your calls. There are 5, as Mike likes to say, we'll make the turn.
Yep.
And go the other way as far as the current stuff is concerned.
With the manager, and here we are in Yankee Stadium, first game of the playoffs, talking about the Mets.
I mean, you know what, yeah. Dog and Russo, Dog and Mike, he watched that dish.
That's right. He's upstairs watching us.
Go talk that baseball you want. Just to tweak George.
Exactly
George can't be happy. John Sterling talking Met baseball on WFAN. He's the Yankee broadcaster. He's the Yankee blue talking Mets.
And one went goodbye, and the other one stayed, and the one that stayed is with us now, Steve Phillips with Mike and the Maddog.
Steve, thank you as usual to come on. We appreciate it. As always, I'll say this right off the bat. I think that both of you should have stayed. I don't think I would have fired Bobby. I wouldn't have fired you either. I think you deserved another shot. But the problem I do have, I don't think you can split it. I don't think you can let one go and keep the other. You seem to think that the manager today deserved to be fired based on this year's performance.
Well, I think that it clearly wasn't my decision, and I think that Fred made it clear early in the year that he had a feeling about it, and I think that feeling changed as the season went on. But, clearly we didn't perform. I think that just about everybody would say that we underachieved, some to different degrees or another. And as we looked ahead, I think that change is probably going to be positive for us to see what we can do to get it turned around.
Steve, when we've discussed this many times during the season, as late as late August when Dog was on vacation, you didn't lay it at the feet of the manager then. Do you think it gets laid at the feet of the manager now?
Well, look, I think this. I don't think that Bobby Valentine is exclusively to accept blame for this season. I don't think that is the case whatsoever. I think that you win as an organization, you lose it as an organization, but then in the end, you have to make decisions to try to get it better. And I think that that's what Mr. Wilpon's goal was to try to see what we could do to get a different direction, to try to get it turned around and get better performance out of the cast that we have here.
Steve, correct me if this is a wrong assumption. It looks to me like you're coming back here with your power pretty much cut up pretty bad. Do you see it that way?
Well, I don't feel it that way. I think that I interact with Mr. Wilpon on a daily basis. I talk to him just about every day, and that's the way it's been really since I've been here. And so not much has changed, even with the ownership issue having changed hands. And I think Fred took this decision under himself and made it for the organization. And right now, look, managers' decisions typically are organizational decisions anyways. I think that they're never exclusive to the baseball department. I think that ownership always is consulted on it. I think that what I think Fred is articulating is veto power when it comes to a new manager. And certainly we'll go out through a process. I talk to Fred every day, keep him informed on what I'm thinking. I talk to Jeff every day, keep him informed on what I'm thinking and what's going on. And they'll be involved in the process throughout. So I think that we'll be able to reach a consensus that we think is right for the organization, be able to put us in a positive step forward.
2 for me. 1, did you have to make any concessions to keep your job?
No, not at all. I think that Fred had said he had made the decision that I was going to be here, and that was that. I think that I'm always open to constructive criticism, ways to do things differently, or improve along the way, and so I don't. But no, absolutely not. I think that my job, the way I see it today, is the same as it was yesterday.
Now, Fred told us just a minute ago that he is looking for a proven winner. He thinks that's what this team needs, a guy who will need no introduction when he walks into the room. That kind of guy is going to cost money. He's going to want a multi-year deal. How do you feel about you on a last year of a deal having to deal with a guy who comes maybe with rings, but obviously with prestige and a bigger, longer contract than yours?
Well, I think that the general manager, whether he's in the first year of a multi-year contract or in the last year of a multi-year contract, his responsibilities are to the organization, that you're supposed to make the best decisions for the organization and not for yourself. I think it's the same thing when it comes to players. I think going into the last year of a contract, are there players that you might give a long-term contract to that are risky propositions, but for the first year might help you personally? Sure. That's not the right thing for the organization. So my view is, let's go find a manager and that we think is the best one to lead us to success. In the end, that's the best thing for everybody, and so I think you always have to keep the organization first.
Well, that's a nice thing to say, Steve, but you're also human, and you want to keep your job, and you do agree that you have a better chance of keeping your job if you bring a big-time manager in here who's got a good track record of sort of blending a lot of personalities to have a successful year next year.
Yeah, there's no question. I think that, look, I think it should be a win-win. I think whatever is best for the organization, if I think that's the guy to lead us into the short-term and long-term, then that's also the best thing for me personally. But I think that you have to make those decisions because it's transparent otherwise, and therefore I don't think that it would be appropriate to do anything differently.
Do you feel that the candidate should be the same as Mr. Wilpon right off the bat, or will you try to integrate things about the candidate? I mean, he clearly wants a prestigious, probably winning. I mean, he didn't say he had to have a championship, but he made it clear that if the guy walks in the room, everybody's going to know who he is right off the bat. So this is obviously a big-time guy who's proven is the guy that he's looking for. Are you looking for the same guy?
Well, I think credibility is important. I think particularly with a veteran team. I think obviously to me, somebody who is versatile, that can handle the veteran player and handle the young player, is best suited in this day and age of baseball for a large market club. I think that with the new collective bargaining agreement, I think that teams are going to have to find that blend of youth and experience, the veteran players and the young players, and therefore I think it's critical to find managers that have that versatility to be a different manager for every player. And so I think that credibility is critical when dealing with veteran players. I believe that wholeheartedly, and therefore obviously you define your list in a certain way, but I don't think that you eliminate everybody who might not be the sexiest or most high-profile name, because you may find that one guy who's compelling enough to get you to change your views.
I'm not going to ask about guys who are on teams in the playoffs or under contract, but there's a couple of guys who would seem like logical candidates if they wanted to manage again. The Tom Kellys, the Jimmy Lelands. I mean, is that the kind of guy we're talking about?
I tell you, it's far too premature. I mean, really, I got word yesterday afternoon about this and started doing some thinking about it, but we haven't really had time to meet and talk through things. I think that probably when we get off the phone here, we'll probably go into a meeting and start talking about some of the issues and really more clearly define the criteria that everybody sees, and then try to see what possibilities are out there that might match those criteria.
But you agree, in your opinion, despite the fact it wasn't your call, you agree that a change needed to be made with the Mets, right?
I thought it was the right thing to do. I think that we just, from August 4th on, things just seemed to get away from us. I think that we had the doubleheader. We lost the first game of the doubleheader against Arizona. It went extra innings. If you remember, they hit a home run, Council's home run against Benitez. It went extra innings, and we lost Alfonso to injury after that. And then it just seemed to snowball from there and got away from us. And I think that who knows what is the right answer. We'll only know a year from now or 2 years from now what the right answer is. But I think that my sense is that this is probably the best direction to try to head in and see if we can't turn it around.
So, a lot of people, or someone could say, and I'll say it, that firing Valentine kind of takes you off the griddle a little bit, takes the players off the griddle a little bit. There should be room, I think, on the griddle for all you guys.
No question about it. I think that those of us who have been on it and might still be on it don't feel that it's a free pass. I think that clearly you win and lose as a team and as an organization. decision. And I think that we had a lot of successes here with Bobby during his time, and we've had some struggles here together as well. And I think the same thing with the players. I think certainly the players all understand as they look in the mirror that there were a lot of failures and not as many successes as we'd like. And right now we have to figure out individually what we can do for players to get them back on track, to get them back to being productive like they had been for the past 4 or 5 years, and then see what we can do to blend some new players in to try to help turn things around.
Steve, do you think your manager lost his locker room in the last 2 months of the year?
I'm sorry, lost
his locker room, his clubhouse in the last 2 months of the year?
Well, I don't know if he lost the locker room. I think that we just didn't perform. I mean, the results weren't there on the field.
Did they quit on him?
I don't know. I don't think they quit at all. I think that Bobby always got effort out of his players. I think, I always here and there, this guy doesn't run a fly ball out, but I think you'll find that on every team. But, I think that, ninth inning wins and celebrations show the guys were in it. I think that the going to first to third, diving for balls in the outfield, I think the effort was there. I don't think you could ever question a Bobby Valentine team for lack of effort.
One last one, Mike. Do you think, did some players make it known to you or any of the guys on your staff that maybe they thought a change should be made in the clubhouse?
No, I think as Fred said, he took a lot of opinions under advisement, but he understands the sensitivity. If you open up the door for that sort of questioning or criticism from players, then the inmates run the asylum. And I think that clearly everybody understands that, and it's not something that would be appropriate. I think that I know everybody's looking for something, but I think that, I've heard Fred talk about the fact that we just didn't perform, and, there seemed at times to be a lack of sense of urgency. Not effort, but just not that day-to-day grind that was there. And I think that he thought that a change was appropriate to see if we can't get that back.
Now, he said that Fred made it clear that it was his decision, but he also stated that he understood exactly where you were coming from your many meetings. So it's clear to say, I don't think you're going to quibble with this, that you were in line with his decision, right?
Yes, I would readily acknowledge that I agree with the decision. I think that, I think there's some issue being made that he didn't point blank ask the question, but it's one that in our meetings, we talk about different issues, what we can do, how we can motivate individuals, and we had a lot of meetings together, both me and Fred, and then with Bobby and the rest of my staff as well. So I think Fred kind of knew my sense without having to point blank put me on the spot to really make the decision, because he was going to take, I think, this burden on his own shoulders.
Steve, we're talking about Steve Phillips, Mike and the Maddog. Bobby Valentine's out. Steve stays. We're here before Game 1 of the Yankees and the Angels. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes with Joe Torre. Steve, if a prominent manager, you're interviewing him to come to the Mets, and he's got 3 or 4 other teams who are after him, and you want to try and bring him to the Mets, and he says, well, Steve, let me ask you this. You're bringing me in here. Your owner's going to stamp it, but you got 1-year contract. How do I know I'm going to be working with you in this chain of command after 1 year? What do you tell him?
Well, I'm not sure that's necessarily a question that he's going to ask me. I think that my view is that if we're successful, we'd be together and stick around for a longer period of time. I mean, I have an option for a year beyond next season that I hope that we're successful next year, that we'll be able to exercise that and be around for another year. But it's one that I'm not worried about. I understand the perception of it, but I think that the communication will be what it should be, and in the end, if we find the right person and the right guy for the organization, then it's the right guy.
So you don't feel like a lame duck?
No, I don't. You know what? I don't know what that is. I just keep working until somebody says not to, and try to do the right thing and do what we can to put it together. And I don't suspect that a manager's going to come in and think that he's going to walk all over me in my last year of a deal.
Steve, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you being honest. We'll talk to you along the way here.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Steve Phillips.
17 here on the fan. Mike,
we appreciate them both coming on.
They did a nice job. They didn't have to come on. They were always very accommodating. I would not have made this move. I understand. I can understand why they did it. They can't change the players. It's the same group from last year. For next year, is going to be here last year. So as a result, you're going to have to motivate the same group of guys. Bobby didn't do it this year. We'll make sure you do it next year. So I can understand where Wilpon's coming from. I do have a problem, though, of almost putting more of the blame on the manager compared to the general manager. That bothers me a lot. And I like Steve, so I'm not trying to tell you I would have fired Steve. I wouldn't have. But if I'm firing Bobby, I got to fire Steve, too. I got to be fair about it. And there's other GMs out there. You know, that guy from Toronto's available. He's done a good job. You know Sabian, you know he's available. And there's not a better general manager in baseball than him, except maybe Billy Bean. So there are some other guys that you could have gotten to be the GM if you really wanted to, you know, really blow up the place. You could have gotten a guy in who was going to do a pretty good job for you.
Dog, we differ on bringing him back. I thought it reached the deplorable stage, and I'm not putting all the blame on Bobby. I think you got to put. I'm always a believer in putting a tremendous amount of the onus on the players. I think the players are more responsible than anybody. But my point all along was that unless you were going to change a lot of faces in there, you needed to get a new voice in there. Bobby wasn't going to come back, I thought, and be successful leading the same group of guys. Now, if you could tell me you were going to change 15 of the guys, you could have brought Bobby back. If you're not going to know that you can do that, I thought you had to change the manager. Now, deciding to change the manager, which I would have done, would I have changed the general manager? Yes. I don't like this idea. Well, we don't think enough of him to give him a new contract and let him go hire a new manager. We're gonna make him work on last year of his contract. If I felt that way, then I'd blow them both out and go hire Brian Sabian and tell Brian Sabian rebuild my team, work with a $100 million payroll instead of what you got in San Francisco, and go hire me a manager and put my stake into the fans. Here's my master builder. It's Sabian. Right now, what you're saying is Phillips has been so-so. He's had his good years, his bad years. I'm giving him another chance, but my master plan here is that I'm bringing in a manager who's going to motivate my veteran team. So it's not a master builder, it's my manager. So the star of this whole mix
becomes the manager.
Is going to be the new manager.
The chain of command is broken. That's
right.
The bottom line.
The new manager is going to be the guy because Phillips is already here. Unless he makes 9,000 trades, which we don't expect him to. He'll make a couple, but, and listen, they're going to try and bring in a big pitcher. Sure, if they can. I mean, there's not that many available, but if they could do that, sure. Any team wants to go get another great pitcher, they'd be dumb not to. But the bottom line is, it's going to come down to, you know, Jimmy Leland, Tom Kelly, Lou Piniella, I'll just use a name just for the sake of it, Dusty Baker, you know, I can give you 4 or 5 more, but you know what the bottom line is? Some prominent guy who's won, who's going to say, I can motivate, I can put that veteran team together. That's a weird way, that's a weird mix, a weird way of doing it, you know, especially when you only give your general manager 1 year. That Phillips stays at Valentine's go. I don't have a problem with Valentine going because it's a mess, but I think he probably should have cleaned the whole thing out today.
I think Lou Piniella's going to manage the Mets next year. I don't think Dusty is going to be good in New York, so I'm going to put Dusty.
I would agree with that.
I think Dusty can't handle the criticism. This is a tough town for that. We all know. Dusty didn't talk to KNBR after 2000, so how's he going to talk to all the media he's got to deal with here? I think Lou Piniella from New York, you know, he's got a big name. Tweak George to go along with it. Sounds like Gillick might leave. He's upset about the payroll in Seattle. If I had to give you a prediction right now, Lou Piniella's going to manage the Mets next year.
I think Piniella's a possibility. I agree with you about Dusty being sensitive. I don't know if Dusty wants to live in New York either. You know Dusty better than I do.
I don't know him that well, but I know he's sensitive.
I would also keep Tom Kelly in the mix here. I think he's a possibility. He's won before. He's good with a veteran club. He's a very good manager. I would put him in the. I would think I don't think Leland anymore.
No, I agree.
I think Tom Kelly's a possibility.
So Piniella and Kelly is where we stand.
I would think probably right now they'd be probably the lot. I mean, we could probably find another guy. I don't think it'll be Buck Showalter because he's not known to work with veteran teams anyway. So I don't think it'll be Buck. Buck's got the Milwaukee job. I think he's shopping around for a better job. I think Valentine can get a job if he wants. He might sit out a year first, just take it easy. But I think you're looking at a guy who probably has a ring and clearly has a big name who will be the manager of the Mets next year.
4:22, Mike. Let's take a break with Minko. We'll come back with your calls.